Is it a big cat, a misidentified animal, or a hound bound for hell? There are differing opinions, but one thing is certain. Some have heard the howler's call. Welcome to the dark side, fellow wanderers. If you're new to this channel, we delve into weird legends, lore, myths, and much more. Today we look to explore the remote forest of the Ozarks in search of its elusive creature known as the Ozark Howler. The story of the Ozark Howler is one of many contradictions, from its appearance to sightings to what it actually is. All are continually speculated and disagreed upon. Though most are familiar with the name Ozark Howler, this beast is rarely called such within the Ozarks. Instead, it is said to go by a long list of names, including the Black Howler, Nightshade Bear, and Devil Cat. If you're unlucky enough to have a run-in with this creature, you'll be greeted with a monstrosity of black or gray shaggy fur, glowing red eyes, and possible horns. And that is where the similarities of what the Ozark Howler looks like end. With each description given, there are varying opinions and reports. Some witnesses say it has a tail, but can't agree on whether it's long or short. They say its frame is cat-like, while others compare it to the stocky build of a bear. Reports have even specified that it looks like a dog or hyena, but that it has the characteristics of an agile big cat that is larger than a cougar. Of all this, there is one thing many can agree upon. The cry of the howler is its most distinct feature. The Ozark Howler's cry has been described in many ways: very deep and guttural, a high-pitched howl, and the most unearthly scream. Its exact sound cannot be pinpointed, but the consensus is that its cry is a combination of a wolf's howl, elk's bugle, and the laugh of a hyena. The screams carry for miles and stun anyone who hears it with terror. There are very few, if any, animals that can make that type of cry, which is why some believe it to be of supernatural origin, while others say it is simply a misidentified or undiscovered animal. The Ozarks span across several states, including Oklahoma, Illinois, and the very edge of southeastern Kansas. But a majority of the region covers the northern part of Arkansas and the southern half of Missouri. Within the Ozarks, there are numerous natural springs, waterfalls, subterranean caves, forests which span millions of acres, 2 mountain ranges, and much more. It makes the Ozark region a favorable environment for various species of wildlife, including bears, coyotes, elk, bats, and bobcats. The Ozarks are not only rich in natural beauty, but a deep history of tradition and beliefs. Early settlers who came from the southern Appalachians around the early 19th century brought with them their masterful art of storytelling. Among these tales were those of the most feared animal within the region, the panther, or painter as they were referred to by Ozark folk. They were quite common in the 1850s and 60s, but as of the early to mid-1900s, panthers have since become scarce. Mountain lions, also known as panthers, pumas, or cougars, have not lived throughout Arkansas since the 1920s, according to the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission, or AGFC for short. The Missouri Conservation Committee stated that the last Missouri panther was killed in 1927. The AGFC has said that bounties were offered and trappers were hired between 1927 and 1929 in order to control the carnivorous animal populations in neighboring Arkansas. At least 255 wolves and over 500 bobcats were killed, but no mountain lions were taken, which gives credence to the fact that the mountain lion population was not large enough to be deemed a threat. Mountain lions are elusive and solitary animals. They tend to stay away from humans, though there have been numerous sightings within Missouri, Oklahoma, and Louisiana. In 2018, the AGFC confirmed a mountain lion sighting near Mammoth Spring in northern Arkansas. At that time, the sighting was the 14th confirmed since 2010. Although the population of mountain lions is nothing compared to what it once was, it shows that there are still some migrating from state to state, as the one shown in 2018 was from a population located in North Dakota. While some believe it may be a big cat such as this, others speculate it could be a feral dog or hyena that may have gotten loose or was released. It has also been suggested that perhaps due to some parts of the Ozark region being so remote and unexplored, that the howler could be a member of the Creodonta group, which is a now extinct group of carnivorous animals. The University of California Museum of Paleontology states that creodonts were a diverse group which ranged from large wolf-like animals to small mongoose-like forms, and that they roamed North America, Asia, Europe, and Africa. With so much lore and mystique surrounding the Ozarks, it's not uncommon for many to hold the Ozark Howler in the same regard. Some believe it could be similar to the black dogs of death from British folklore. Due to its red eyes and haunting cry, the Ozark Howler is said to be similar to the hellhounds. This theory may also come from Ozark lore as well. In his book, Ozark Superstitions, Vance Randolph tells of the long-standing belief that when an old settler of the Ozark passes, dogs within a 5-mile radius will howl upon the person's last breath. Unlike other stories of lore, this one has no distinct beginning, or at the very least, one that could be deemed concrete enough to establish as a starting point. Much like the rest of the Howler's story, its first sighting is highly speculated upon, but still seemingly unknown. If we are to take what some assume to be the truth, though, the Ozark Howler legend supposedly begins sometime in the 1800s when encountered by pioneer and explorer Daniel Boone. There are discrepancies even within this story, as many are unsure if he hunted the creature and was successful in that effort. Others say that what Boone most likely encountered was one of the large wildcats that was common to the frontier at that time. And much like the rest of his legacy, it was spun into an elaborate tale of him encountering a terrible beast known as the Ozark Howler. Perhaps the story dates back further than that. Ozark lore speaks of enormous wildcats, with one being the most legendary of them all, the wampus. These cats were known to be ferocious, with an affinity for nursing mothers and newborns. These wampus cats, or painters, gave Ozark residents scares throughout much of their early settlement and thereafter. There were stories of beasts referred to as woozers, which were super panthers that could be 5 to 6 times the size of a normal big cat. Due to their intense fear, settlers were known to become spooked at any sound that was similar to what they called the whistling wampus, such as hearing the sharp whistle of a steamboat for the first time. Ozark folklore even tells of a mythical cat room, which was a cave where the animals went before they died in order to leave their bodies with those of their past ancestors. As Randolph states, obviously all myths, but these varying depictions show just how deep lore runs within the Ozarks, and just how easily one can find themselves drawn into its never-ending supply. Although stories of formidable cat-like beasts have a long-standing oral history in the region, Ozark Howler sightings supposedly only began being officially recorded in the 1950s, and it has been said that it has been spotted numerous times over the past 73 years. Many will tell you that while that may be true, it is more common for you to hear the howler's bone-chilling cry echo within the dense woods of the Ozarks. Reported sightings of the Ozark Howler come from various places across the internet, mostly blog posts, comment sections, and now defunct websites. Although a list of sightings can be found on the website Unlock the Ozarks, finding and sourcing each one takes a bit of time, as one has to scour the Wayback Machine and search results from Google to find the original postings. Most consist of the same information, a large cat-like figure catching the attention of the witness. Many of the reportees were driving their vehicles when some hulking figure would dart out in front of their car, or would be just up ahead in the distance. One poster described the assumed howler to be about 7 feet long and almost 4 feet tall at the shoulder. Most of the howler sightings recovered were not of particular interest on their own. As a group, they may give a bit of support to each other and paint a better picture of some of the behaviors of the creature. As some biologists and cryptozoologists have suggested, perhaps what these people were seeing was a misidentified or unknown species of animal. There is one post from a now deleted Reddit user on the No Sleep subreddit in December of 2013 that, whether real or not, goes to show just how descriptive some can be in outlining the events that unfold when you potentially come into contact with what some assume to be the Ozark Howler. I bent over and began walking through the cedars, and my mind said, "There it is, turn around." I looked left, to the east, and near a thick patch of cedars was a freshly killed deer. The thing behind it was huge and black. crouched on all fours like some kind of big cat, but with big yellow eyes, bigger than I've ever seen, and a thick shaggy mane that flowed from just behind its head to the middle of its back. It wasn't a lion or cougar or bear. I've never seen anything like it since. I began walking sideways, determined not to take my eyes off of it. With each of my steps, a guttural purr came from it. The purr would start low like a growl and then end on a high note. I slowly moved my rifle from the sling to my shoulder so I could pull up quick and shoot if I needed to. It was so big I don't know if I would have done any damage. It didn't move though. I kept walking sideways until I was at an angle from it and then backed up and out of the cedar thicket. I stayed bent so I could have eyes on it until I moved out of sight. It just laid there and turned its massive head. As I got out of eyesight, I began to hear movement from the direction I had just come and the intense feeling of being watched. It was stalking me now. Here I was, 16 years old, probably going to die. They'd find me later, or part of me. As always, much of what is posted to Reddit must be taken with a grain of salt, but it goes to show just how haunting the Howler seems to be in many aspects. Another sighting posted to Lon Strickler's site, Phantoms and Monsters, displays similar unnerving qualities. The post came from an email sent in by an individual that wished to remain anonymous. His story goes as follows. While camping with his wife in their RV, they went on a hike through the valley. While coming across various formations such as caves and caverns, none of them would be what could potentially house a large animal. They were soon headed back towards their campsite when something caught their attention. Through the thicket, they saw a dark, four-legged creature pacing back and forth. Knowing that they shouldn't linger, the pair picked up their pace, but the presence followed them and continued tracking them back down through the valley. When they finally reached the clearing, they got a better look at the creature and were able to describe it as large and almost bear-like, but it moved close to the ground, similar to a cat. We got back to the campsite very shaken and nervous. All my years growing up in these mountains, and I'd never seen anything comparable to it. From what I could gather, it was very large, almost the size of a black bear, but moved close to the ground like a cat. It was also very dark in color. We didn't say anything to others camping nearby. The rest of the evening was quiet and peaceful, until around 2:15 a.m., we heard what sounded like high-pitched howling coming from a distance. It was loud enough to wake both of us, and I noticed several campers were looking outside, milling around and talking as well. Someone said it was just a coyote, but that was not a coyote or anything else I have ever heard before. The next morning, we woke up around 9 a.m. When I stepped out of the RV, a woman walked up to me and asked if I heard the howling. I said that I did and had no idea what it was. The woman who was camping nearby said that she believed it to be the Ozark Howler and that there had been a few sightings recently. I knew the stories about the Ozark Howler, but never believed any of it. Although he was not sure what to make of the situation, the anonymous emailer knew that he and his wife had seen something. He wasn't sure what it was, but he and his wife were more than happy to leave as soon as possible. While some believe the Ozark Howler could be an animal once thought gone, or a new or mutated species of some kind, others speculate it could be a paranormal entity. And there's no better sighting that displays this than the event that is said to have taken place at the Cumberland Presbyterian Church in Russellville, Arkansas. Supposedly in the early 1900s, the church housed a stained glass window that depicted the Ozark Howler. Although the congregation still held strong to old settler beliefs in the Howler, their new minister did not, and took it upon himself to destroy the window. The consequences of his action would come merely a week later when the church burnt to the ground. The connection was made that the Howler, angered by the irreverence the minister showed to its image, caused the fire in the church building. As we continue to see with the Howler story, there's not much to substantiate this claim either, aside from 1 or 2 blog posts and a small chapter in a book we will discuss just a bit further into our journey. The people mentioned by name in connection with this event, such as the minister Horace Greenleaf, the artist who made the stained glass window Robert Turner, and some of the congregation members, could not be found. While we don't have the funding or resources currently on this channel to dig into historical records like expanded family histories and other archival items that may help in further substantiating or debunking if these people existed, we can tell from what we were able to find through as much extensive research of the limited archival items we have access to, that these people most likely did not exist. The church, if the same as the one found during the research process, had a historical telling completed on its long-standing origins and life. An article by Mark Scott for the Russellville Courier detailed the history of the church and its expansion. And yes, the church did burn. On January 1st, 1908, a fire started in the hotel adjacent to the church building and quickly spread to the church itself. Many of the fixtures were saved though, and the congregation planned to rebuild on the very same spot, but would settle on holding services in the Opera House at first, and then held Mass in another church building after being invited to do so. So perhaps not as mysterious or Howler related as some would have us to believe, but due in part to the suggestion that the Howler was the cause for the church's destruction, and the various reports that it sometimes appears to be dog-like. Many suggest the Howler to possibly be related to the black dogs of death, hellhounds, or church grims. And while we won't go into depth about them in this video, we will explore the folklore that surrounds these creatures in the future. The last of the sightings we will take a look at is the most recent that could be found, and when compared to the others, is very different, which you will soon understand. A tipster wrote into a newspaper about seeing what he thought was the Ozark Howler. Met some family in Devil's Den State Park this weekend for some camping. We were up near Yellow Rock Trailhead this morning and saw something chase a squirrel up a tree, and I have never seen anything like it. It had short black fur, a broad nose, and horns like a young deer, but it moved like a cat and had a long tail. Don't know what else it could be but the Howler. It was yelping and scratching, and I got this pretty good photo when it stopped and turned to look at me. Wish I had video or more photos, but it disappeared too fast. After taking a look at the photos, Steve Pokin, known for taking images at interesting angles in order to create illusions, said that the photos looked like that of a German Shepherd puppy with some photoshopping done. After the sighting story went live with Pokin's opinion of the photos, the tipster, John Myers, came forward and was adamant that he saw something chasing the squirrel while he was camping with his family. He was upset that the photos were being portrayed as potentially photoshopped. Myers stated that he reacted like it was a fox or a wolf and just took some photos. He said that since he was young, he was told stories of the Ozark Howler. When asked if he was afraid, Myers replied, "No, it was just minding its own business, trying to catch the squirrel." Much of the information about the Ozark Howler on various websites is copy and pasted from one site to another, with some sites adding a bit more embellishments. While that may make it more difficult to parse through what could be legitimate sightings of an unknown creature, it has also kept the Howler story alive. Through research and compiled sightings, it's clear that the Howler is most likely a solitary creature. This may give some backing to the idea that it is a lone mountain lion, as they have been known to travel long distances within and over state lines. But with the unique description of what the Howler looks like, it may be hard for some to draw the line and say that there is not more to the Ozark Howler. Maybe something supernatural. Whatever the case may be, you'll find those that view it from one side or the other, and some who don't believe at all. And that disbelief does have backing. We will explore that disbelief and the lingering questions that surround this creature in the next video. Our journey through the Ozark region is far from over. And from this point, I must warn you, the road to the truth will be winding and treacherous. But I hope you will join us again in the dark side as we search for the Ozark Howler. Until that time, stay safe and stay spooky.